Welcome, brothers. I'm Emezi, head coach and founder at pornreboot.com. Today we're going to be talking about a sex myth, and this is a myth that may not be verbalized often, but many of us hold this thought in our mind, this belief. And the belief is that, it doesn't matter how much pornography I watch, it's not really going to change any of my core sexual beliefs. I used to think this way too. The more time you spend viewing pornography over the years, the more different you're going to start viewing people. And many of you have already started experiencing this. Basically, you begin to view people more as sexual objects as opposed to human beings. So when you see an attractive woman in the gym, on the street, anywhere, you're not really concerned about her humanity. You don't care about her personality. The only way you know how to relate to her is as a sexual object. And thus, that's the way you're going to relate to her. Now, obviously, this has a lot of disadvantages. For those of you who haven't started dating yet or don't have a lot of dating experience, this is going to become a problem when it comes to relating to women, because if your primary way of relating to women and the most common way that you view women is via pornography, then when you're with a real life woman or you have access to a real life woman, you're not going to know how to relate to her as a human being. You're not going to understand what it takes to spark attraction in a woman or to make her interested in you, because a lot of that experience has been developed by years and years of viewing pornography. And I feel especially bad for young men today whose the majority of their sexual experience came from pornography, especially because I do believe that the dating market today is a lot tougher than it was years ago, and who knows how much it's going to change with COVID. Things like Instagram have changed the way that dating works forever. It's affected the way dating apps work. And so now you have to express a lot of things non-verbally via pictures, via the way you write, via the vibe you give off online before you can actually make a connection with a woman to get to the point where you can actually meet her. And this is something that's affecting a lot of men in their 20s, 30s, and 40s negatively, because they just don't get it. You don't understand how to express those things online. It's more difficult to express those things online when you don't have experience dating women in the real world. I went through this problem. My sexual behavior was completely based on pornography, and so when I first started going out to date women, I was super awkward. I said weird things. When I tried to have sex with them, I did weird things. I was just completely off, and that's because I was completely conditioned by pornography. I thought that when you had sex with a woman, it just had to be, rough, and you had to go all out and you had to be violent. As I share this right now, I'm thinking back to some sexual experiences I had where I was like, yeah, there's a reason why she didn't want to see me again, because everything I did was just straight from pornography. I really thought while I was having sex with a woman that all the things I was doing were pleasurable things. The truth was, those were not pleasurable things. I just thought they were because of pornography. Another thing that happens when you carry this belief that pornography doesn't affect your sexual beliefs is you begin to lose interest in real life sexual partners. So again, there are a lot of young men who basically have been conditioned to pornography. They truly believe that women in real life should be like the women that you see in pornography, that they should look a certain way, that they should be groomed a certain way, that they should respond sexually a certain way. And even for men who are married, men who are in relationships, it starts happening with your current relationship. You basically start expecting your wife or your girlfriend to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to engage in certain sexual acts that basically she's not comfortable with. And when you start to realize that, she's not really into the things I'm into, but the things you're really into are just conditioned from pornography, when you start to realize that, then you naturally just lose interest in her. Your brain has been rewired to prefer women in pornography. And this causes a lot of problems in relationships, and it takes quite a while to rewire your brain to intimacy and then enjoying your partner sexually. I was speaking to a divorce lawyer who was one of my clients for a couple of months, And he told me, he was like, JK, in most of the divorce cases that I deal with, pornography is listed as one of the top reasons for relationships ending. There are also men who, because of this belief, move from relationship to relationship, trying to look for that perfect woman who is going to satisfy all their needs. And you're never going to find her, because there's no woman who is multiple genres of pornography. There's no woman who is multiple tabs. There's no woman who is going to satisfy every fantasy that is portrayed on these pornography websites. Another thing that happens when you hold this belief is you begin to normalize sexually aggressive behavior. Now, this is an important one. A lot of the pornography out there these days is violent. As I've mentioned before, there's nothing like vanilla porn anymore. Everything is violent and rough, and you start to believe that this is the thing that women enjoy. Whenever I see news articles where it talks about a guy being accused of sexual assault, when I read through the details of that, one of the first things that comes to my mind is that the woman viewed this guy as a nice guy or a gentleman, and she was often very, very shocked when it got down to sex, because the way he changed and the way he came at her and the things he was doing to her, she did not expect those things. And in many of these cases, I'm just sitting there going, this is a guy who watches a lot of pornography. Now, the woman didn't know, because you can't really tell when you're meeting a guy who's putting his best foot forward. But once it came to sex, if the guy watches a lot of pornography, well, he's going to act that way. And sometimes women can feel assaulted, and that combination of surprise, the aggressiveness, not expecting you to be that way, can make them feel a little bit violated. So brothers, I encourage you to be very, very careful with the way you approach dating women. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of women who also watch pornography. There are women who don't watch pornography and like rough, aggressive sex. But as I mentioned in another video, that is not the norm. So please be careful of that. Be aware of that. It is your beliefs that make it so. Also, the way women have sex with men on a one-night stand might be completely different from the way they'll have sex with a man when they are in a monogamous, committed relationship with him. Now, the final thing that affects you when you have this belief that pornography doesn't affect your sexual beliefs is you start to experience shame and you start to feel very dirty. And the reason why is because the person that you portray yourself to be is completely different from the person who views pornography. And what this means is, like, when you're out in casual platonic situations and you're around people, or you're meeting a new woman, and it may not even be for anything romantic, it might just be something platonic, you start noticing that, man, why am I just always thinking of sex? Why am I always thinking about what it will be like to fuck this woman? Why am I always undressing women with my eyes? And why am I doing it with women and individuals who I have no business doing it with? Like, under normal circumstances, I have no interest in somebody like this. But why is it that it's compulsive? I have to imagine what it's like to have sex with this woman. And I used to think this way too. This really bothered me because, I would meet a guy and the guy would introduce me to his girlfriend when I was an addict. And I would just start imagining oh man, what would it be like to undress her? What would it be like to have sex with her? There literally wasn't any mental boundary there. I was always in a state of imagining what it would be like to act out with people. And it's so different now because right now, those boundaries are set in my head. I meet somebody, and if they're attractive, and this is what happens when you rewire your brain, if they're attractive, a woman is attractive, I'll acknowledge the fact that she's attractive. Yeah, this is an attractive woman. Later on, just naturally, I may notice that she has, a certain body type. I see all these things. We're human beings, we're men. I see all these things, but I'm not triggered by them. It's okay, pretty woman. That's it. That's where it ends. There's no further imagination. There's no further fantasy. Anything else that would happen is a matter of choice. And that truly is the place that you want to get to. But you cannot get to this place where you're controlling your mind until you challenge the belief that pornography does not affect your sexual beliefs. because it truly does. It affects it on all levels. So brothers, I hope I made my point. That is my point for today. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Now, whenever you're ready, there are a couple of ways that I can help you end your out of control behavior with porn, sex, or masturbation. The first way is to download a free copy of my ebook. It's called Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men. And it's the roadmap to ending your out of control behavior with porn, sex, and masturbation. It breaks down my system in its simplest form. The second way is to join my live training. It's also called 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men. And if you've enjoyed the book, but you actually want to dive in a little bit deeper and learn more and actually hear from some of my successful clients, then watch this free live training. There's a link to sign up in the description below this video. And finally, if you are at a point where you are ready to end your behavior faster, and what that means is maybe you're making some progress on your own, you've been able to stay off porn, you've had some decent streaks, but you know you haven't beat this and you want to get rid of this within the next 90 days. You want to gain control within the next 90 days. Or if you're at a spot where you're just tired of trying to figure it out on your own and getting pieces of information from all over the internet, and you want somebody who has a proven system that works to hold your hand and guide you step by step until you have control of this behavior, then you might be a good fit for one of our coaching programs. We have 2 coaching programs. The first is called the Reboot Implementation Program, and the second is called the Reboot Intensive Program. Now, to learn more about these programs, there's a link in the description below this video to schedule a call with me or one of my team members to find out if you're a good fit. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. I do release 4 videos a week, every week consistently, and I'll speak to you later on in the week. Take care.